Okay, guys, so I know you've all heard that old joke. Three engineers walk into a tech company. All three know Kubernetes. All three understand CI/CD. All three can write infrastructure as code. However, one makes 120K, another makes 280K, and the third makes 350K. What's the difference? Their job title. Okay, it's not actually a joke, but it is reality. So I'm going to show you the real differences between DevOps engineers, site reliability engineers, and platform engineers. Not the LinkedIn job description BS, but what you actually do day to day, how much you get paid, and which path is right for you. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which role to target, what skills to build, and how to position yourself for the highest salary. Okay, let's break it down. So first of all, who am I? My name is Chris Schwank, aka the Tech Jobber. I have 17 years in the tech recruitment space, and I interview leaders in tech management. So basically, all the information you're going to get here is real salary information from my tech recruitment business and all the technical information that has been vetted by managers I actually deal with. Okay, so let's start with the confusion. Here's why everyone's confused. These three roles use the same exact tools. Kubernetes, check. Terraform, check. Docker, check. CI/CD pipelines, check, check, check. I've seen job postings for DevOps engineers that are actually SRE roles. I've seen platform engineer positions that are just rebranded DevOps jobs. And I've seen SRE roles that require zero reliability engineering experience. So let me clear this up once and for all with a simple framework. DevOps engineers focus on speed. How fast can we ship code to production? Site reliability engineers, they focus on reliability, just like in the name. How do we keep production running at 99.99% uptime? And platform engineers focus on the developer experience. How do we make it easy for developers to ship code without thinking about infrastructure? Same tools, different missions. Very different salaries. Let's dive into each role. DevOps engineers, that's the original role. It emerged around 2009 when companies realized that having separate dev and ops teams was slowing everything down. The core mission was to break down silos between development and operations. Just like it says, DevOps, development and operations. Ship code faster, automate everything. Now, here's what you actually do in a day-to-day DevOps job. A typical morning would be you're reviewing pull requests from developers. Someone wants to deploy a new microservice. Maybe check the Docker file, review the Kubernetes manifests, and suggest improvements. Mid-morning, you're building a CI/CD pipeline in Jenkins or GitHub Actions. Every time a developer pushes code, it automatically runs tests, builds a Docker image, and deploys to staging. Now in the afternoon, maybe you're writing Terraform code to provision new AWS infrastructure. The product team needs a new database. You're spinning it up with infrastructure as code. Then maybe at the end of the day, you're troubleshooting a failed deployment. The new version of the app won't start in production. You roll back, check the logs, identify the issue, and maybe it's missing an environment variable. And then you work with the dev team to fix that. Okay, so the key responsibilities for DevOps engineers is to build and maintain those CI/CD pipelines. You can automate infrastructure provisioning, manage all the cloud resources, AWS, Azure, GCP, as we know. And then you're going to bridge the gap between the developers and the operations. That's your core function there. You're also going to need to reduce the deployment time from weeks to minutes. Okay, the typical tools you will use here when it comes to CI/CD, you're going to be looking at Jenkins, GitLab CI, GitHub Actions, and Circle CI. Infrastructure is code, Terraform, that's the big one. Then you also have Ansible and CloudFormation. When it comes to containers, you have Docker and Kubernetes. That's really the key on all of these. And then cloud, obviously, we know it's AWS, Azure, GCP, kind of whatever your company is using. For monitoring, I've seen a lot of Prometheus. There's also Grafana and Datadog. And then you're going to need scripting as well for all of these, which is Bash or Python. And I've even seen some Shell as well. Okay, salary ranges are pretty good on these. You're going to start off the 80 to 110K for junior DevOps, just getting your feet set. And mid-level, you're going to quickly jump to the, maybe 120 to 150. Senior DevOps, you're over 200 pretty quickly too, within 5 years. And then staff principal, you're probably topping around 280, maybe 300. Okay, now of these three roles that we're going to discuss, DevOps is the broadest role. You touch everything: infrastructure, deployments, automation, and monitoring. It's a great entry point into infrastructure engineering, and it's also the most commoditized. There are hundreds of thousands of DevOps engineers worldwide, which keeps the salaries a bit lower than the SRE or platform roles. Who is this for? Well, if you want variety, you like solving different problems every day, and you're okay with being a generalist and a specialist, then look at DevOps. But again, there is going to be way more competition on this than these other two roles. And again, because of that, salary is going to be a bit lower. Okay, the second role we're going to discuss today, role I've worked with probably for the last 10 years pretty heavily, is site reliability engineering, or SRE. Basically was invented by Google in 2003, and they wanted to answer a simple question: what if we treated operations like a software engineering problem? So the core mission is to ensure production systems are reliable, just like in the name, scalable, and performant. You're not just keeping the lights on, you're basically engineering reliability at scale. Okay, now let's talk about what an SRE actually does day to day. Okay, when you come in, you're gonna have to check your monitoring dashboards before your coffee. Are all services meeting their SLOs? That's service level objectives. And your API has a 99.9% uptime target. Right now, you're at 99.92. You're trending in the right direction. Then maybe at 9 o'clock, it's a stand up with the production engineering team. They want to deploy a new feature. Okay, so then you review the deployment plan, identify potential risks, and ensure proper monitoring is in place. You're not blocking the deploy, you're just making it safer. Okay, then maybe 11 o'clock, you're analyzing last week's incident, and maybe there was a 12-minute outage caused by database connection pool exhaustion. You're leading the blameless postmortem, and you're documenting root causes, basically assigning action items to prevent it from ever happening again. Then a big part of the day is capacity planning. Your metrics show database CPU trending upward. At current growth rates, you'll hit capacity limits in 5 weeks. So you create a proposal to scale horizontally, run cost analysis, and present it to your manager. Okay, then at 3 o'clock, maybe you're writing Python code to automate an incident response. When a specific alert fires, your script automatically scales up resources. It notifies the team and creates a Slack channel for coordination. And then at 5 o'clock, you're doing some code review. Maybe a developer wants to merge code that makes 50 database calls in a loop, but you flag it. This will kill performance under load, which is all you're trying to look for. Suggest batching the queries, and you just prevented a production incident. Okay, so key responsibilities will be to define and monitor the SLIs, SLOs, and error budgets, lead incident response and postmortems, a lot of capacity planning and performance optimization, and eliminate toil through automation. It's a lot of automation in this. Also, you'll be embedded with product teams to improve reliability, and there will be an on-call rotation typically, and usually it's like 1 week per month, you're gonna be on call a little bit. Okay, now when it comes to the tools you'll be using as an SRE, well, it's basically all the same as DevOps, plus you will have some new observability tools like OpenTelemetry, Jaeger, or Zipkin. Also incident response, there's PagerDuty, there's OpsGenie, little chaos engineering. I'm going to talk about that job in a little bit as well. That would be Gremlin or Chaos Monkey. Load testing as well, K6, JMeter, Locust, and there's also advanced monitoring like Prometheus, Grafana, Datadog once again, and New Relic. Okay, and when it comes to salary ranges, now we have taken a step up where the juniors are already at 120 to 160, mid-levels 160 to 220. Then seniors, you'll be at 220 to up to 320. And then staff SREs at a big company, you're looking up to 450K, potentially some bonus equity. You kind of get into that territory at the staff level. Then at the tops, we have the principals. Those guys are at 400 to 600K easy. They're going to be running the show for probably a large company as well that needs that reliability to kind of be locked in. Okay, so you may be asking why these SREs are making more than DevOps. Well, number one, you're on call. I've placed multiple SREs that, they did that once a week. They're on call. They're coming into work after being up at 3 a.m. to kind of answer an incident. And you also need deeper technical skills. They have distributed systems, the performance optimization, that type of stuff. And you directly impact the revenue, because downtime is lost money. So, you need to be firing at all cylinders. They don't want any downtime at all. And there are also way fewer qualified SREs than DevOps engineers. And it's actually kind of I'm going to talk about this in future videos, but it is ripe for fake candidates because of that. So basically, if you are not someone that is okay with being woken up at 3 a.m. sometimes during that 1 week that you are on call, then this probably isn't for you. Maybe you just take a DevOps job, make a little less, and not have to deal with all that stuff. But who it is for are people who love solving complex technical problems. And again, that on-call aspect. You're making a lot extra, but you do have that kind of uncomfortable 1 week per month. So if you want to specialize in reliability and scale, don't mind the on-call. This is for you. Okay, and last but not least, this is a job that I am seeing a lot of in my recruitment business. That is platform engineering. It's the newest role. It kind of exploded around kind of 2020, 2021. And company realized that even with DevOps and SRE, developers were still spending too much time on infrastructure. So basically, their core mission is to build internal platforms that make it easy for developers to deploy, monitor, and manage their applications without needing to be infrastructure experts. Think of it this way. DevOps automates infrastructure, platform engineering builds products for internal developers. So think about it this way. The developer works on things for the customer, the consumer, maybe the internal customer, and platform engineers work on products for the developers. So that's kind of the easiest way to kind of break it down. Okay, so let's talk about the typical day-to-day. You're going to come in, you're building an internal developer portal. Let's just say developers should be able to spin up a new microservice with one click, complete with database, monitoring, logging, and CI/CD pipeline. You're essentially building Heroku, but for your company. Then by mid-morning, you're designing a self-service API for infrastructure. So instead of developers filing tickets to get a new database, they basically call your API. It'd be something like this. Okay, then by the afternoon, maybe you are improving developer onboarding. New engineers should be able to deploy their first service on day one. So you're creating templates, maybe documentation, automation to make this happen. Then late afternoon, you're gathering feedback from the product teams. What's painful about deploying code? What takes too long? You're treating developers as your customers and iterating on your platform based on their needs. Okay, so once again, key responsibilities. You are building internal developer platforms, IDPs. You're going to create self-service infrastructure APIs and design golden paths for common workflows. Then you're going to maintain platform documentation and onboarding. Last but not least, you're going to measure platform adoption and developer satisfaction, because basically everything you do is to make their life easier and get the code out. Okay, some typical tools they use, basically everything that the DevOps guys know, everything the SREs know, plus you're going to have stuff like Backstage, Port, as far as your platform tools. You're going to have, for GitOps, you're going to have Flux, then maybe policy as code, open policy agent, and a lot of APIs too. So, okay, so when it comes to salary ranges, these guys definitely do make more than the SREs. It's not crazy more, but they are slightly paid more. So, for junior platform engineers, yeah, they're going to top out of it 170, 175, even for just a junior. Mid-level will be in the 200s, maybe up to 230, 240. Then you have seniors. Well, then you're even looking up to 350 for the staff, 350 to 500K. And the principals, now you're up to 650K plus. That's how kind of in demand these guys are, because it's really just a supply and demand issue when it comes to platform engineers right now. There's not enough people versus the amount of high-level open jobs there are. So you can always demand a little more. And a couple other reasons why it is the highest paying of these three. Well, obviously it's the newest. We have the supply and demand. You do need those deep technical skills, a little deeper than even the SRE people. And you directly impact the developer productivity, which is a direct impact on revenue. So anytime, the closer you get to revenue, the more you're going to make. There's usually no on call because you're just building the platforms and not running the production. So it does have that advantage to the SREs and basically all the top companies on the planet. You have the Ubers, the Netflix, the Spotify. They're all investing heavily into the platform teams right now. Yeah, I mean, the key to this role is to keep the developers happy. They're your main customer. You have to have them hit the ground running and build products they actually want to use. So it's not just technical, you do need that product sense, and you have to think like a developer. So basically who it's for, well, you have to love building tools that other engineers use. You have to have empathy for developer pain points and not just fight them on all of their needs and wants. And you want the highest salary without the on-call responsibility. So when it comes to that, has a major advantage of that SRE job. Okay, so let's do a side-by-side comparison. You can look at this table. You can see that obviously the DevOps, yeah, sometimes they'll be on call actually. Now the SRE is a guarantee. It's gonna be once a month. You need everything to be running reliable, and obviously it's right in the name. And but then obviously the platform you have, basically they're not gonna be on call. They make the most, but it is tougher because you need that deeper technical knowledge and you need to think like a developer and keep them happy. So, okay, now you can look at this chart as well. You can kind of see where platform engineering is kind of like the hot skill set right now. It's a supply and demand issue in tech, and it's growing fast. And again, when all the biggest companies on the planet do something, everyone else follows suit. So now more people are investing in platform engineers, and that's why it's an amazing career to kind of get into now. Okay, now when it comes to skill overlap, things that all of these jobs need, it's the Linux fundamentals. And you're going to have some specialty in one of the cloud platforms, maybe two or three of them. Obviously, AWS, Azure, GCP. You're going to need Kubernetes. 1000%. All these jobs need Kubernetes and Terraform to go along with CI/CD pipelines, the monitoring, and the scripting. You're going to need to know Bash, Shell, Go, or Python. Obviously, Python I talk about a lot. That's a great skill to have just in general. You can do a lot of things with that. Okay, now some unique skills per role. For DevOps, well, you're going to need some Ansible, Chef, and Puppet. I see that on every job description for DevOps people. And then I also see build systems like Maven and Gradle. And there will be some artifact management like Nexus, Artifactory. Basically, you need some broad but shallow knowledge across a ton of different tools. That's kind of the key to DevOps. Now, when it comes to SRE specific technical skills, you're going to need basically that incident management and the capacity planning and forecasting. You need to make sure that you're prepared for the site to not go down and cause an outage. Okay, that's like basically your main function there. Okay, now when it comes to platform engineers, the specific skills needed, it's all about the developers. You have to get inside their head. You have to measure platform adoption and understand their workflows and their pain points. That's really the key to this role. You're basically developing for them. So they're your customer. You have to keep them happy and make their life easy because then everything runs smoothly. Okay, typical career progression that most people go through here. Well, they basically start as the DevOps engineer. They learn the fundamentals, get comfortable with the cloud, CI/CD pipelines, things like that. Build out your technical foundation. And then year 2 to 4, you're going to have to make a decision. I mean, you could stay in DevOps. I'd recommend either going to SRE or platform. Basically, if you can handle the on-call, then you can jump right to SRE. But if you have that ability to kind of help the developers get inside their heads and kind of make their life easy, then you might want to look at platform because obviously no on-call and most people don't like that. Okay, and by year 4, that's when the big money starts to kick in. You've had 2 more years either specializing in the SRE or the platform world. Like staff SREs at Google, they're making 400K. At Uber, platform engineers making 500K right now. So it's big time money for an individual contributor role, and obviously exposes you to the ability to get to those big tech companies, get those stock options. That's where you'll really level up your bank account. One shortcut I've seen, it's not too common, but some companies will hire you directly into an SRE or platform role if you have strong software engineering fundamentals, even without the DevOps experience. This is especially true at FAANG companies because they just need the talent and they will help build you up. Like they have the money and ability to help build you up into those high-level SRE and platform roles. But you need to have those strong software engineering skills. Okay, so let's talk about what you should choose here. Well, if you're early in the career, then just get the DevOps skills, learn the fundamentals. If you like variety and touching different parts of the stack, again, it's broad but not deep with a lot of these skills in DevOps. And you will have some more work-life balance. Maybe you just want to stay as a DevOps engineer. Maybe you just like doing that and you don't want to have anything to do with that on call, which I understand the 3 a.m. calls. I've seen some SREs come in very bleary eyed into work that I've been working with. And it's because they were on a call. There was an outage at 3 or 4 in the morning. They were up all night dealing with that. So it's definitely not for everyone to deal with that. Some people love that. They'll take the extra money and they'll just tough it out for that 1 week a month. DevOps roles are everywhere. Like I said, it's been around for a long time and it's the easiest to break into. It's got the lowest ceiling and it's a great starting point. But I would always have a plan to go one of those two ways once you get 2 to 3 years experience. Try to get the platform skills or start looking at observability, monitoring to do the SRE type roles. Now, when you talk about should you choose an SRE role? Well, that's probably technically it's the most complex role you're going to deal with. But again, you have to be okay with that on call. That's the big thing about this role. And you have to be okay with that because then it's just not going to work. But if you like to kind of solve technically demanding problems and you don't mind the occasional 3 to 4 a.m. call, then you're going to make big time money, be super in demand, and have all the biggest companies on the planet looking for you. Okay, now maybe you choose platform engineering if you love building tools that other engineers use. You don't mind dealing with developers. Some people are very annoyed by developers, but obviously that's going to be a big part of this role. And you're going to get this highest salary without the on call if you can figure out those problems. And once again, the biggest companies are looking for these guys. The Ubers, the Netflix, the Spotifys, the Stripes, they all need platform engineering right now. But again, it is the hardest to break into because most platform engineers come from an established DevOps or SRE backgrounds. Okay, what I would do is if you're starting out, get into DevOps. There's plenty of people that can train you on that. You can get entry level job. Again, you're still going to be making 80 to 120K likely. 80 is very rare, honestly, to be that low paid as a DevOps engineer. So you're probably going to be over 100 easily and get the fundamentals, learn for 1 to 2 years, and then start specializing. Start talking to the SREs, talk to the platform people at your company, kind of see which one is kind of better suited for you. And then start learning some of those skills and start updating your LinkedIn as you're getting those skills and kind of target companies that have those SRE or platform teams. Another thing is if you are a software engineer, you might be able to jump right into SRE or platform if you can learn the infrastructure side because, again, your coding skills and your developer knowledge does give you advantage, especially on the platform side. So, you're going to know how they think because you are one of them. So you might be able to make that shift, but you're gonna need the infrastructure experience. You're gonna need that tools experience as well. Okay, so here's your action plan. If you're already in DevOps, decide right now, based on what I said, you wanna go to the SRE route or the platform route, start building those specialized skills today and update your LinkedIn as you go and as you learn those technical skills because you're going to get picked up in searches and you're going to be able to interview for those kind of either platform or SRE roles. Basically, if you have no experience and you want to break in, start with DevOps. I'm going to link one of my former guests, Cyrus Harbin's cohort when it comes to DevOps. He has kind of turned around some people to get DevOps jobs very quickly. So I'll have that link down below. But get those 1 to 2 years of experience and, like I said, specialize and talk to people in the field, talk to people at your company, at other companies, see how it is, see how bad that on call is for the SRE, or see, because again, it's not always a walk in the park to deal with developers. And maybe that's not something you want to do. Maybe the on call isn't so bad. So maybe the SRE would be the way to go. I would not stay in DevOps because you can just make way more money doing one of those other two. So definitely get that experience and then start to level up quickly. Okay, and if you're still undecided, well, you can check out my interview with Amin Shirali. He is the principal platform engineer over at JetBlue Airlines. Talk about his job and kind of his story, basically what it's like to kind of work in platform engineering for a major airline. And I'm also going to be interviewing some SREs that I've worked with in the past in the next few weeks and doing a video on that too. So take a look at those, make your decision, and start getting those skills. So if all that sounds good to you, then let me know which one you guys are going to look at, and we'll catch you guys next time.